Come on in, we're about to build out a complete marketing plan for a local business client. We call it double stacking the client, and you're gonna meet some of the DoubleStack team along the way. So we've got Gabe with us. He's the head of our SEO team, and he's gonna share his screen so you can see some of the tools that he uses for keyword and search volume research. Robin is here. She's the head of our social media and ads team. I'm Lee Blue, the founder of DoubleStack, and I'm gonna be talking about lead magnets and conversion rate optimization. And we call it double stacking a client. If you have a client that you'd like to see double stacked, drop them down in the comments below and we'll double stack them next. But come on in, we're gonna start with Gabe. He's gonna give us some SEO insights into this custom cabinet business. So Gabe, so when you look at this website, what do you feel like kind of jumps out to you kind of right off the bat from an SEO perspective?
Yeah, so from an SEO angle, some of the things that I like to see for local businesses are going to be, I mean, first of all, I'm asking the question of, so like what other kind of services that they're offering and what are those profit centers for them? And so as I'm just looking through the site right now without, like doing a deeper dive with the client, like you said, they do cabinets for kitchen, for office, for bathroom, for laundry. They just do custom cabinets. And so I'm looking at what they're offering. And then I want to know, like volume wise, how what they're offering is meeting the actual searches that are happening. And then we'll look at that in just a second. And then really like where they're serving. So these guys are going from Richmond all the way to Hampton, and they're kind of located right in between Richmond and Hampton. And so they're serving both cities and kind of everybody in between. So I want to know, can we rank them in Richmond? Can we rank them in Hampton? Can we rank them in the cities where they're at? So that's what I'm looking at first. So just pulling some keyword data on cabinets. So like you have these larger, keywords with a lot of volume. So 51K, like just the word cabinets gets searched nationwide. Monthly, about 50,000 times per month. So then cabinets near me as well kind of has a good search volume along with cabinet maker. And but we're all like it's nice to rank for things like that, but I'm more concerned with like the end. These are local businesses. I mean, they're small, medium-sized businesses, and they really want to show up for clients that are going to pay them for their services. So cabinets, cabinet near me, cabinet maker, those kind of have the intent that we call it in the SEO world. It has the intent of like looking for a product. We could dive into it like the actual SERP and look, but there's a lot of like product-based pieces for cabinets. So in my mind, I'm throwing those out. So I don't really care about those. And then you come down here like cabinet builder, right? Cabinet contractor. Those are the kinds of things that they offer, but the search volume down here just isn't there. I mean, like 100 people are looking for a cabinet contractor. Now, there might be situations, right, where they call themselves a cabinet contractor. I don't know if they call themselves a cabinet contractor, but if they call themselves a cabinet contractor, we can go back to them and say, well, nobody's really looking for a cabinet contractor, so let's tweak that. You can call yourself a cabinet contractor all day, but from a marketing angle, we're going to call you this. And so that's where that sweet spot I like to find is. And that really sits in this custom, for these guys, custom cabinets near me, and then cabinet installers. So that's what I like to see first is, okay, so what is the sweet spot? Is there keyword volume? And what's the intent? Like, are people wanting to find out information about cabinets? I don't really care about that for a local business. I care about people that are looking for the service with the intent to buy, right? So then I'm looking, all right, so let's look at custom cabinets and let's pretend that the person lives in Providence Forge, which is where the business is located. And then I'm looking at custom cabinets, just like we said back here, custom cabinets near me. You're at like 10K a month nationwide. So I like that as a keyword volume. And so then now I'm looking at custom cabinets in Hampton and I'm looking at custom cabinets in Richmond. And so you come through here and it's going to be easier for them, right, to rank in the Providence Forge area because that's where they're located. They don't rank right now. They show up in the search, like the AI search. So the AI understands that cabinets at home exists, and it's probably connected to their Google business profile. And so their Google Business Profile comes up in Providence Forge, but that's really like the only place that it comes up is in Providence Forge. It might show up maybe in New Kent or some kind of local areas, but they don't show up at all in the organic listings. They have like their Yelp listing shows up, but like there's not. I mean, they have a really good chance to show up here in Providence Forge. And because nobody really is in Providence Forge as doing cabinets from what it looks like here. So they have really good chance to show up here, and that would be pretty easy.
How can you
Then
tell that nobody's doing anything in Providence Forge?
Yeah, so that you're looking, I mean, you go through the first page, you have House, Yelp, Better Business Bureau. I mean, like it's just a bunch of like really big like websites like Yelp, Angie's List, and again, Better Business Bureau again, Facebook. So nobody's really done a lot of work there. So you have Dig Customs that has a domain authority, which is that kind of like a number for your off-page SEO score from 0 to 100. That's one of the things that I'm looking at. So I come over here and like the cabinets at home, they have a domain authority of a 0. So we can do work to get them up to like a 5 or a 10, but primarily like on the right out of the docket, I'm looking to say, can we rank them in Providence Forge quickly? And so there's no Google likes to have a diversification of businesses for local searches. So the fact that nobody shows up means that Google doesn't think anybody's worth ranking. So you have Schrock cabinets and you have Dig Customs. And so there's no reason why cabinets at home can't show up here because it's not diversified enough. And the sites who are showing up, you have a 58 and you have a 0. So there's good opportunity there because they actually have a physical location right there in Providence Forge. So that would be pretty easy. Then you come over to Hampton and to Richmond, and that's just a different story, but it's not bad. It's actually a really good opportunity. So you have, so in Hampton looks better than Richmond, and Hampton is smaller than Richmond, so I expect that to be the case. So I come through here, I'm looking at domain authority scores just as a kind of a rough reference point for who's ranking right now. And, you have a domain authority of a 0, a 10, a 0, a 2, 13, a 0, lots of zeros, lots of 2s. So, and most of these zeros, like most of them probably haven't done any SEO work. A lot of small businesses are scared to invest or don't know who to work with. And so there's a lot of kind of mistrust around that. And that's where, we can step in and offer them a good, trustworthy service for SEO. And so I'm looking through here and I'm saying, all right, there's a lot of zeros in Hampton. And so just like it's going to be a little bit tougher to show up in Hampton, but not that hard. And so like you can see the diversification that we were talking about. I mean, you have so many more different kinds of sites versus Providence Forge. And it's just a bunch of Facebooks and Better Business Bureaus. So Facebook Google is like begging for actual sites to rank in Providence Forge, and there's nobody's raising their hand and saying, "Hey, come rank me." So lots of good opportunity there. And then in Richmond, I mean, you look at Richmond, and it's the same. Like they're not going to show up in this 3-pack with Google Business, but down here, I mean. You have House, and then you have a 1 domain authority. You have a 6, some 5s, a couple 1s. Like it's a little bit tougher than Hampton, right? But it's not that much harder. I mean, there are cities that, it can be really hard for a domain authority of a 0 to rank. But I mean, they have a really good chance of ranking here too. So a lot of great opportunity just for custom cabinets. That is searched a lot, right? And to rank in their city, both showing up on Google Business right here and showing up in the organic results, and then showing up in Hampton and in Richmond. So there's so much good opportunity here that we could really like build on.
That's awesome. That was really interesting. So I'm getting the sense that you feel like there's a lot of strong opportunity here. What are a couple of things that you might do to maybe improve their domain authority, or to help them rank a little bit? I'm guessing that you're probably going to say there's probably on-site stuff, like building more pages out and stuff like
Yes.
that, and then maybe off-site stuff too, like maybe even where Robin comes in with some social media backlinks or stuff like that. So you
Right.
just kind of like, what would you feel like is sort of the low-hanging fruit, like kind of like the first opportunities you might pursue?
Yeah, low-hanging fruit is, I mean, it's always easier to do on-page work because you have full access to the site. So, we're building out pages and we're building out service pages. We're optimizing your homepage. Depending on, I don't know what this is built on offhand, but maybe site speed. Like we're looking at site speed. We're looking at just the technical aspects of the site, looking at their site health. So we'd run a report, look at site health, and we'd need access to the site for that, for some of that. So run a report on speed and site health, and then dive into building out just some, and it's not a lot. I mean, building out some nice, like healthy, like I want like 1,000 words, or I want a couple thousand on the homepage, and I want 1,000 words on the service pages, and I want them to be like like user friendly
Hmm.
and look and feel like a magazine as opposed to a newspaper. Like just dumping a bunch of words on the screen.
Hmm.
And I want it to be optimized for all of those all those specific services that they offer. I mean, like you come through here, and if you just search custom cabinet, I mean, it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
So, like, and we don't, and Google doesn't really have a good sense of on from the site, like where they're located. Like we know where they're serving, right? But
Hmm.
we don't have a good sense of where, like the website is not communicating, hey, this is where we are, this is where we serve. So there's so many opportunities that you're just moving the site from a one-page site into a 7 to 15 page site. And for this kind of competition, I mean, the on-page work would get them on the Providence Forge SERP easy. The on-page
Hmm.
stuff would even potentially get them onto the Hampton site pretty easily. And then you'd have to do some off-page work to start, creating some content, building out some links, that kind of stuff for like finding some partners, maybe locally or in the industry, just to start getting that domain authority score up. Even if it was a 2, I mean, in Richmond, that would be enough because so many sites right now are ranking that have a domain authority of a 0 or a 1. So getting
Hmm.
them to a 2, probably would take 6-ish links to just boost that domain authority up a little bit,
Hmm.
and then they're in business. You know.
That's awesome. Um, yeah, like when you did that search on the homepage for custom cabinets and it didn't show up at all, that was kind of shocking. I was like, wow, because I'm sure she wants to show up. I mean, that's exactly what she does. And so
Well, yeah, and but you don't know to strategize that until you just look at some numbers, right?
yeah,
And yeah, okay, so custom cabinets is the thing that people are searching for, or cabinet installers. Like those are the things that we want to show up for. So then we need to optimize our site for those things, and and then we're in business.
it doesn't even say Providence Forge, you know? So like Providence
No, it
Forge is
doesn't.
like right in the middle between Richmond and Hampton, but Williamsburg is too, you know? And so like there's a lot of service areas that I'm sure she'd love to show up for that it's just the words aren't on the page.
Exactly. Yeah, and none of that is hard, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
especially for us, like we work with copy every day, we work with websites every day, and so like that might be more difficult for a business owner, especially to find time and then to find the knowledge and the skill to do it. But for us who are in this world every day, building all that out is it just takes work, and it just takes some strategy to make that happen.
Yeah. That's awesome. What are you seeing, Robin? Is anything jumping out at you as something that you might look at for ads, social media, website design?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, we could go into the design and kind of the call to action, all that fun stuff. And what I love is that, what we do works really well with what Gabe does with the SEO. Like when we're looking at pay-per-click ads and things like that, all this research that he's done, we use all of that in order to do the targeting and the campaigns and stuff like that. So off the bat, I'm curious on the mobile experience. I did see that it was built in WordPress, by the way. I took a peek at that while you were talking
There you
about that.
go.
So that's pretty simple to work with. But yeah, I've got a few thoughts here. Organically, since that's kind of where we've been touching on, when we look at their social media, which they do have, I found it. Uh, if we, but it's nowhere on their website. So
Oh, it's
I
not.
would, no, it's not. And they're not super active. It looks like they try to be a little more active. If you'd like, I can share my screen on their social
Yeah,
media
Okay.
let
to
me
kind
hop
of
off.
touch on that. Go. So when we are looking at, they're here on Facebook. Again, we don't see anything going on with their website
Hmm.
when it comes to social, which is a missed opportunity. Um, we really want to see an invitation for people to connect with them and as many touch points as possible. So email, social media. They've got the request to design consultation here. That takes you to a form and a phone number. That's great. Um, I would not even ask for an address and things like that, but I digress. For the landing page, but when we're looking at what they've got going on here, for Facebook, they don't have a large following at this point, but the potential for social for them, I find very intriguing.
Hmm.
Their work is very visual, and people go to social media to find inspiration.
Hmm.
And it's a fun way to grab attention. I don't see that they have any real video content, which they could take advantage of with their work. I mean, if you look at their work, it's beautiful. It's very, I mean, just as someone who's actively also like looking at redoing their kitchen cabinets, I'm like, ooh, so you can find a lot here. I feel like with a lot of these small businesses, they miss on opportunity as well because it feels overwhelming that they have to post all of the time in order for it to do anything, and that's just not the case.
Hmm.
Um, there's a few best practices that they could be following here. Like the phone number is fine, but we really do not want to put any kind of hyperlink in the captions. That will greatly limit their visibility, their
Hmm.
reach with Facebook. And so, I mean, their posts look really nice. They're branded. I like their colors and all of that stuff. Um, but we're just seeing quite a bit of just photos of their work, which is fine, but we also want to mix it up a little bit. And then we go over to Instagram, and not a lot's happening here. Um, there is a huge opportunity for reels here as well, and just making these thumbnails a bit more um, eye-catching for when people do visit their profile. And touching on Pinterest, they're not on
Hmm.
Pinterest. They need to be on Pinterest. I would tell them Pinterest is probably just as important, if not more important, because people are searching for custom cabinets on Pinterest and they
Hmm.
are searching for kitchen cabinet ideas. I know I'm searching and I see the traffic. And this is where I save my ideas. And you can see there's quite a few advertisers. It says sponsored right here, really small. There's quite a few advertisers here that are
Hmm.
showing because this is where people are looking for their ideas and their inspiration. So they're in research mode here. They're not in full let's purchase, let's move forward. They're researching. But Pinterest is a really great way for your brand, whatever it is, especially with a business like theirs, to have that touch point and build that trust so that when they are in that next phase of purchasing, they're already familiar with their brand. And so when they show up in Google, because Gabe did an awesome job, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I know these guys. I know their branding. And they've saved their pins, they've interacted with them. And it just kind of helps close that deal and help them stand out above the rest.
That's awesome.
So yeah, the buyer for cabinets, when we look at the customer, right? Like they're not most people are not going to go, I need to redo my cabinets and then hire someone the next day. Like there's a bit of a process. There's a bit of a process and a bit of a creative, like, what do I want to do? What is my budget? Those kind of questions are going to be happening. And so they're going to be doing some research in Google, but I can almost guarantee you quite a bit of them are going to be doing research in Pinterest for specific business. And so I encourage them to just kind of take advantage of this space because there's tons of opportunity here. And then when we're looking at the paid traffic, because we always like to start with a Google pay-per-click search campaign to get a better sense of their audience and where they're at, to get that demographic data that's so helpful for all other aspects of their campaign. Like all those analytics are so important for SEO and for their search traffic when it comes to pay-per-click. And one thing that I noticed, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I wonder if Gabe could pull it back up. But one thing that I observed quite a bit when he was doing the research for their competition in various cities is that there was a lot of LSA ads there at the top. So those sponsored ads there at the top, yeah, that is where they want to be. Now it's great to run LSA and search together, and that's what I recommend if at all possible, because LSA or local service ads, I should say, not using the acronyms, show up there at the top in that sponsored section. But then when we look down in the map pack, if we're running pay-per-click and they're in that local area, their business will show up in the local map pack as a search ad. And you can only do that with search pay-per-click ads. So those are two opportunities there on the same page for them to be able to get that visibility.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there, because if we did everything that we've talked about so far, we could show up at the top, we could show up in the map pack, we could show up organically because of the domain authority and everything that Gabe was talking about in the beginning. And so now we're getting authority through repetition, right? Like you're searching custom cabinets and it's like, oh, cabinets at home, cabinets at home, cabinets at well, I guess that's who I'm supposed to call. So you're showing up all over the whole whatever you call it, the whole homepage of Google or whatever for that search.
Exactly. And then, to touch on the user experience of the website, I mean, that, like, we can do all the SEO and do it the best, right? And we can have the pay-per-click ads honed in, they're on social. That user experience has to be solid. That landing page has to be solid.
Well, we'd take this website and completely redo it, like when we onboard this as a client, we're not gonna like tweak this existing site. We would just build a brand new one.
Agreed.
And I think what you said about the call to action is a really big point too, because I do think it's a good idea for people to be able to request a design consultation, because that's ultimately what they're going to want to have. But what you said about the fact that people are going to be searching and kind of learning about what they're getting themselves into before they request a consultation, there's going to be a lot of people, whether they see the results organically on SEO, whether they see an ad, whether they see something on social media, they're going to be interested, but not ready to buy it yet. And so we want to make sure that this client has the ability to capture those leads to continue the conversation, rather than just holding your breath, hoping that they remember to come back to your website. And that's where I think the email opt-in comes in.
Yep.
And And we could use some of those social posts. We could use some of the ads, even the landing pages like Gabe was talking about, as we like break up, like have a certain page just for kitchen cabinets and another page for laundry cabinets and uh, individual landing pages for the different major categories of products. We could have lead magnets on each of those pages, maybe even different lead magnets on each of those pages, so that we could segment the audience as they come through. And then if somebody signs up for the kitchen cabinet lead magnet, we can start emailing them information. Hey, look at the top kitchens we've designed this year. Or if they sign up for the laundry cabinets, we can say, look how you can save a lot of money on laundry cabinets and stuff like that. Or have like a cabinet quiz, like what is your vibe? Fill out a couple
Sure,
on my
home
mind.
decor style. Yeah, yeah. For
One of the
sure.
things I was actually talking to this business owner, and she said that one of the things that's sort of operating sort of behind the scenes with regard to cabinet selection is that people choose, like, for example, kitchen cabinets. People choose to redo their kitchen for a variety of reasons. For example, you might be entertaining and you want to have a lot of people come over and you want to have a lot of access to the kitchen for like hosting parties and stuff. Or you might have two cooks in the kitchen, like a couple might like to cook together and you want to have two different cooking spaces where people can cook simultaneously. Or you might have children and you want to improve the safety of your kitchen so that kids aren't like pulling pots out on their heads and stuff like that. And so it would be really helpful to have a little quiz where you answer some of the questions about what are your objectives for this project. And then based on those results, we can start nurturing those leads accordingly. I never even thought about the fact that you might want to redesign your kitchen for things like having children versus multiple cooks in the kitchen versus parties and stuff like that. I just figured like, do you like the colors? I don't really know anything about cabinets. And so learning about those different variations, I thought was really interesting. And that way you've got the ability to collect the lead before you jump straight into, hey, call me, come on in, buy stuff right now. And so it's more like this lead nurturing ramp all the way up to the requested design. And those emails can push people back to the design consultation form to book calls and stuff as well. So I think that's a pretty cool pathway. How do you guys feel about that?
I think
That was on my mind, so I loved it.
Yeah. And Gabe's research is so essential to that, right? Because you can see the search traffic that can really help you hone in the best lead magnets for people to kind of see what they're looking for, what the trends are, what the search is for. And it helps you already have an insight into the audience before you even offer them the opportunity to take the quiz or download the guide or whatever that may be. I also liked how you said specifically for each room. I think that's a great idea because, the problems that you're solving, which is what we always come back to with DoubleStack, is like, where's the problem that we're solving? It's going to be different in a laundry room than it is in a kitchen.
Right. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Maybe we can wrap it up with this one last idea. How would you incorporate the business owner into any of this? Would you want to have like a video of her talking about the cabinets or anything like that? Or maybe some of her personality in the social media or like a backstory and some of the content? Or maybe even tapping into the business owner's relationships with other business owners in the area, because Gabe was talking about different partnerships and getting links and so forth. So if you were going to talk to the business owner and maybe use some of that information in the marketing, does anything kind of spark in your imagination as to how you might do that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll just jump in. My first thought would be a lot of people, if they've not had custom cabinets before or had this kind of experience before, they're going to be wondering what the process is. They're going to have a lot of nerves. They're going to be wondering about, any kind of potential surprises, things like that. So having the owner's insights into the process of what it's like to have that consultation, to get into the creativity of planning, and the kind of support that they offer, and just having specific stories of problems that were solved that are relatable. That's what I would do. And of course, I'm thinking about social media, primarily with video, things like that is where my mind goes to. And she doesn't even have to have her face, in the video quite a bit. I mean, it's good to have a smiling face, but quite a bit of voiceover while featuring the beautiful work that they do, and
Hmm.
um, could be really helpful just to kind of help people feel connected, but also, she doesn't have to be in front of the camera the whole time, because most people prefer that. They don't, that they're not in
Yeah.
front of the camera the whole time.
And it just builds so much trust. I mean,
Mm.
anybody from anywhere in the world, right, can build out a site like this. But then part of that custom element is getting to work with somebody that knows what they're talking about. And so you get her on the camera, and you have videos on at least the homepage, if not every page,
Yeah.
just talking through benefits. Or like, and what I tell people is, I mean, people aren't going to sit down and watch a 5 to 10 minute video on every page, but will they watch a 30-second, a 60-second video? Absolutely. So if you have information for a long video, great, go for it. But it gets overwhelming for a lot of business owners to think through, like, oh, I gotta like record myself. And like, how concise can we be? Can you say something? Can you introduce yourself? Can you just build a little bit of trust with me over video in 90 seconds? Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. And then now they're in, I mean, and I want her in front of her cabinets, and maybe it's a showroom, maybe it's other houses that she's already done work in. And it's just that becomes another connection and another reason why I trust you more over somebody else in Richmond or somebody else in Hampton.
And all you're trying to do is pique curiosity. I love what you said
Hmm.
about not having a super long video, because most people aren't going to watch it. They're going to fall off after
Hmm.
30 seconds. And so you can pique curiosity in 90 seconds or less. That's all that you need. You don't need to tell the whole story and all the ins and outs. And I mean, you could do that on YouTube if you wanted, but for the website or most social media, it's you're just kind of touching on one aspect of it that resonates with that audience.
Hmm.
So I really like that.
How do you feel about the impact of having multiple media formats on the website? Like you hit a page, it's got text, it's got images, it's got video. It seems like that's probably more authoritative content than if it was just text. So that'd probably help with SEO rankings.
Absolutely. I mean, like that's why I gravitate towards. I had an old boss that would always talk about magazines over newspapers, and he was
Mm.
talking about like physical pieces of print, right? But people just love magazines over reading a newspaper, and then that applies into the digital world now, where like nobody wants to sit there and read a bunch of text. They want to interact with it, or they want to skim, or they want to scan. And so using those headers, using those bullets, using read more drop downs, using imagery, videos, all of those things, as interactive as it can be, and as beautiful as it can be, and as functional as it can be, the better.
Do, I have a question for Gabe. Do you find those sliders like for before and afters? Because I know on social before and after is fire, but like on page, like if they had a before picture and after picture, you kind of slide it over and
Mm-hmm.
see, the transformation. I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
sparks inspiration and excitement. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
it does.
my kitchen also looks like 1995, and it could look like, this beautiful kitchen over here. Yes, and
Oh
so
yeah.
I mean,
Well, and
functionality is important,
that's
but
a human marketing kind of thing, that we just to be able to see, okay, this is where I am and this is what I can be, or this is what my kitchen looks like and this is what it could be. There's even some images that you were kind of flipping through on Pinterest a few minutes ago, and I thought, "Ooh, I'd love that in our living room," or I'd love that in our,
yeah.
like, it sparks a lot of creativity, and it sparks inspiration when you're able to kind of have somebody show you, hey, this is what things could look like. From an SEO angle, a lot of plugins don't like a lot of before and after plugins. You have to be really kind of picky.
Mm,
A lot of before and after plugins are just really like bulky, and they
Hmm.
bring a lot of like bloat. And it's
okay.
not that, like, it's just two images, right? But sometimes it's hard to optimize those two images because they're stuck behind a plugin. So some of that gets kind of frustrating. But overall, I love them.
So you could do a GIF because you don't even have to do a full video. If you're just doing before and after pictures, you could have it switch with a GIF or something like that if you wanted to avoid that.
You very well could.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just like the interactive.
But I wouldn't not do it because it makes a page slower or something. Like as long as we can lazy load them and maybe put them, a little bit further down below that hero and below that first kind of glimpse that you get of the site, then I'm very like, I don't have black and white rules when it comes to all that. I'm going to bring that into all of the marketing kind of thoughts. And so maybe that outweighs the fact that it makes the page load a little slower, and maybe that's okay. And so it's just going to depend.
You have a holistic approach to SEO.
A holistic
I
approach.
like working with you because as a design,
I like working with you.
Yeah, with somebody who loves design, I'm like, oh, I want it to be pretty. It needs to be pretty, but you're good at making it like we can meet in the middle. It can be pretty, but it can also be fast.
Yeah, you have to hold all of those things in tension. Yeah, it's not just one thing.
Yeah.
Well, that was awesome. This is so much fun. So, so we're planning to do these videos like this where we double stack a client project for the next couple of weeks. So if you've got a website or a client that you're working on, you just drop it down in the comments, and we'll double stack your client site for you, so you can see what we would do if we were working with your client. And so that'll be a lot of fun. And if you want to learn how to double stack sites yourself, just jump on in, and you can work with me, you can work with Gabe, you can work with Robin, and we can all support you. I think one of the really cool things about web design today is that we have the ability to help people at such a deep level compared to even just a few years ago with everything that's going on right now. And but the challenge is there's so much going on that it's really hard to do it alone. I mean, I feel like it's almost ridiculously unfair to have what we've got versus what somebody might have if they were just by themselves, because we've got Gabe, we've got Robin, we've got me, we've got the entire DoubleStack community behind you, and decades upon decades of insights into what's working and how to optimize everything in that holistic approach, where it's not just, hey, let me sell SEO services to you. It's let's talk about how we actually use SEO to drive traffic to landing pages, to pick up an email address, to nurture the leads. What should the call to action be? How can we reuse some of the content that's helping us rank in a more authoritative way with SEO, and also use that for social media, and maybe some ad content can come from that. And we haven't even touched on Google Business Profile stuff in this particular video. We didn't touch on the fact that maybe YouTube could be a really interesting search platform for some content like we just talked about. So there's a ton of stuff that can be done. So if you know of a local business that you'd like to see us double stack next, drop them in the comments. Maybe it's a client that you're working with and you'd like to get our thoughts on what we would do to help promote that business. Drop them in the comments. We'll try to get to them in a future video. Or better yet, just come join us in DoubleStack. This is what we do all day long in DoubleStack. You can find us at doublestack.net, and Gabe and Robin and I, we can all support you. Or do you ever wonder what the best niche is? Well, my recommendation is just pick this one. I'll see you there in a minute.